All right, I will try to do this from this angle today so that I can actually, get back to this form of giving somebody value out there. See, in the last few weeks, I've been pumping out videos about, the actions that go on behind the scene of me selling on this platform, referring to eBay. See, it doesn't matter if you sell on eBay, on Amazon, the kind of content I put out are definitely, intended to make you see what is possible if you decide to work hard. It's been a lot of action, PC that flipped, PC flipping for different amount, customer returns. And sometimes I kind of forget, the original intention of this channel, which is, even though I'm going to be showing you a lot of, behind the scenes, some of the rare actions that happens that you do not tend to see elsewhere, the intention was for me to also, just have a real talk with you guys, for those of you that have decided to take matters into your hands and, to start, a business like selling on a platform like eBay. It doesn't matter. It might not necessarily be, computers or, hardware. It could be clothing. It could be, kitchen utensils. It could be books, but then the intention of this channel, or one of the many intentions of this channel is to also be able to sit here and give you practical tips, pretty much teach you how to be a better, reseller. This I tend to forget because sometimes it's very, very addictive when you sell stuff and things are moving so fast. I need to come here. Right now, I'm actually waiting for a PC to be done so that I can ship it out. But I felt like, see, it's not just about me sitting here giving you, things that might kind of make you feel like I'm kind of showing off, but I also need to be able to sit down here. It doesn't matter 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 3 minutes. Just give one person out there, because I do not care. Even if my videos are going to be seen by just one person, I need to be sure that that person is going to get a word that will possibly motivate him or her, to put in, the work that is meant to be put in for you to see results. I was driving today to the warehouse and I was listening to a YouTube video. This is something I am in the habit of doing for a very, very long time. And sometimes I get a lot of inspirations from some of these kind of videos. And on this particular video, this fine gentleman was talking about the fact that, look, mental toughness is something that has to be, in the equation if you want to actually succeed. Because when I started this journey, I used to think that your ability to be physically, tough was just what was, needed to make a difference. So then, I needed to do a lot of things that had to task my physical strength. Sometimes listing items far into the night. Then at the time I didn't have a car. Going to the the flea market, because I am from Germany, in case you didn't know. If you are stopping on this channel for the first time, I sell used computers on eBay and I've been doing it for a very, very long time. So at the time I didn't have a car and I needed to go very far distances to buy, inventories. And then I had a little trolley that then when I have finished buying my stuff, I load everything on this trolley and take that trolley, move the items from the flea market to my house at the time using the, the train, the bus. It was tedious and there was a lot of physical, tests, physical stress that goes with that. Of course, this was a training for me at the time. I didn't know what I was doing. I just thought that, look, if you are able to be physically strong, you are definitely going to be successful on, say, selling on a platform like eBay. All right. But then fast forward to many years later, I can tell you that, look, when I listened to this, fine gentleman speak on this video, it kind of reminded me of all I have been through, all I have, the different situations I have been in this business. And just looking back, I'm kind of saying to myself, look, what actually saw me through these stages, the different stages of this business wasn't just my, physical strength alone, but the fact that I was mentally tough, was, in fact, was the main thing that determined if I was still going to be doing this business as of today. Guys, there were so many situations, and there have been so many situations. Some of them intended to knock you off. Some of them intended to just make you say, you know what, I'm going to throw in the towel. I don't want to do this business anymore. I am done. Some of them intended to just wear you out, financially, physically, emotionally. And the only thing that has kept me to this day It's just that mental toughness, which is, I'm not going to give up. All right. I've been on this journey too long enough to just now say, you know what, I'm going to quit, especially when the situation that is, staring at me is just a minor situation that you can actually, overcome by just, pushing yourself just a little bit more. That's the difference. That's what the mental toughness does. It tells you, even though you are kind of failing, you are seeing every reason in the book to just actually give up on your business, because it might be that things are not selling. It might be that customers are being very, very, tricky. They buy your stuff and from nowhere, they want to return it. Even though you have done your due diligence to ensure that the item in this case has been well photographed, has been properly listed, has been well described, but then somebody still goes ahead and buy the item. And then a few days later, the person wants to return the item for no reason. It's a different thing when somebody tells you, I'm returning this item because the color is red and I actually wanted a blue one, for example. But then it's so annoying when somebody tries to return your item and says, look, I bought this item in error, all right? And the item in question is not just, a little item like this, all right? These are talking about, a computer, a laptop, an item that can be broken during transportation, fragile items. And then the buyer actually goes ahead to ship that item back to you, and to confirm your fears, the items get broken and you still have to make a full refund. Ideally, you do not need to make full refund when your items get destroyed during transportation. But when you are actually in this business and things are moving so fast, I'm telling you from experience, you might not even have the time to begin to follow up on eBay or the shipping service as to why the item was destroyed. The easiest thing you want to do is just to go ahead, issue a refund and move on. And these situations sometimes, they are very, very, difficult. There was a time I also was selling for a very long time on eBay, and I didn't know that sometimes, buyers could also be difficult. There was a particular transaction. This young man bought this stuff and I realized that I didn't have this item, Then I was totally a rookie. Ideal thing for me to have done was to have just reached out to the buyer to say, look, I'm so sorry. This item, I had honestly listed it on my shop, thinking that I still have this item, but unfortunately, try to look for it. It's nowhere to be found. Can I just simply send you a refund, possibly give you a discount if you want to buy another item? So I went ahead and just canceled the transaction. The mistake I made was that this transaction was canceled 3 days after the buyer had bought the item. And this guy was so furious. He reached out to me and said, look, I actually bought this PC because you had told me that you had it for sale. I mean, from the listing on your shop, it presupposes that the item was available for sale. I bought it. I actually had a video conference I was supposed to use this PC for. And right now, I cannot get a PC. It's too late to buy another one. Why didn't you inform me on the day? Man, this guy was furious and he threatened me. Guys, I tell you, I was in a bad situation for a very long time, This guy actually did threaten me, made a lot of stories, and it really made me, consider doing this business again. I was like, wait a minute. So something like this could actually happen when somebody wants to pull a fast one on you, want to be difficult. And if you are not mentally tough, sometimes you might just be in a bad situation. See, these are some of the few situations that have actually made me, consider quitting this business. And sometimes when the pressure of the work was so much, the pressure of life, sometimes you are doing this business, life comes in between, things are just getting choked up. At the time I had a full-time job, there was no time left to do eBay. I come from my work, I was so tired, but then I still had to go to then I didn't have a warehouse. I still had to go to my garage, pack items. It didn't matter at the time if it was winter, if it was summer. I still needed to pack items and ship it out. And some of these items, when you ship it out to the buyers, they don't even get to appreciate it. Man, I had, like I said, almost every reason in the book to just quit. But from nowhere, I kept telling myself, look, reselling is pretty much a way of life. This is the way I see it. I see it as a way, one of the many ways that you can actually fulfill your purpose here on this earth. And I kept telling myself, I'm not going to give up. Of course, sometimes There was a time I had some inventories, and from one mistake or the other, I was selling these inventories at a loss unknown to me. Take an example. I was supposed to have listed the item for 89 euros. For some funny reason, it was listed for 69 euros. Totally unknown to me how this kind of error came in, and the items kept selling. I felt like the transactions were going through, and it didn't occur to me that this price was wrong. And this is also some experience, something that comes pretty much from experience. If your item sells and it keeps selling again, go back and be sure that your pricing, your profit is intact. Take a look at the amount you bought that item. Subtract your expenses and make sure that your item, the item you are selling, the profit is still intact. Because sometimes when an item keeps selling and selling, it might just possibly be, I'm not saying, it might be that there is an error in the listing. Either the price is not correct, you are selling that item at a loss, and that's one of the reasons why people are just jumping on the offer and trying to buy it. Like I said, that must not always be the case. But then I didn't check. I kept selling. I think I sold about 50-something pieces of this item, only for me to take a look, and I realized that all the while I was selling at a loss. I was furious. I was angry at myself. Another good example for me to want to quit. But each time this kind of feeling came, I knew I needed to push through. The mental toughness that I had developed, doing this business for a very, very long time, kept me through. And in this video, I felt like this is one thing I also need to share with you. You see, when this fine young man was talking about this mental toughness, I could immediately relate to what he was talking about. And when I came to the warehouse today, while waiting for this PC, one thing I said to myself was that I could actually tell somebody out there that, look, physical toughness is a very good thing to have, because definitely you need to be physically strong to be able to handle these things. If you sell bulky items like myself, definitely you need to be strong enough to be able to carry these items, pack them up, lift them up. Some of the items I sell, they might be as heavy as 20 kilograms. And physically, you need to be strong to be able to do it. But then, when the challenges of this business comes, guys, I'm telling you that physical, toughness alone might not just be enough to see you through. Even as you try to build your physical toughness, your mental toughness must also be, be taken care of. Put yourself in different situations. When situations come up that try to challenge you, tell yourself, I am going to walk through this situation. It could even be a situation where, things are generally not selling on the platform. You have listed good items, and you do not know why the items are not selling. It's not just enough for you to just give up easily and say, "No, eBay is dead. I don't think eBay is selling. This is 2025. People are doing things that relates to AI. This is not the time for me to begin to do eBay." Guys, if you begin to whine like that, you are not building your mental toughness. You see, if you have committed to, you've told yourself, look, I want to go on this path of being a reseller, and I see that there are so many reasons for me to believe that there is a way to do this thing and make profits. And you've told yourself that, and you also told yourself, I'm not going to give up. There's so many challenges. I'm aware. I've heard it. Hardwareflipper has talked about it. I'm aware of these things, but I am ready to put in the work, to work hard to make sure that I come out strong. These are the ways you can actually build, your mental toughness. And the more challenges you come, you can also liken it to, physical toughness, liken it to, you expanding your muscles to lift up heavy items. The more you exercise your muscles, you flex yourself, you suddenly realize that gradually you are able to lift even heavier items because you are building your muscles, you are building your physical stamina and all that. The same thing also happens with your mental stamina, your mental toughness. The more you exercise your mental muscles, you have difficult situations, buyers are becoming difficult. The platform is just easy to sell your items for like 1 or 2 weeks. You have bills to pay, but you tell yourself, whatever it's going to take, I am going to go through this phase. Whatever I have to do, I have to do it. You do not give up easily. You're telling yourself, and you are taking the necessary actions to ensure that you do not give up. Gradually, you're going to be building your mental toughness, and the more you build it, the more you're able to take on so many challenges that might just come as you continue to do all the activities that reselling entails. Guys, if you are still not putting a lot of attention to building your mental toughness, this might be a call to action to you. Wake up, do everything that you have to do, exercise your mind, consider some, getting some, positive affirmations. And when situations come around, situations that want to try to make you give up on the project you are working on, try to push yourself. It's not going to be easy. This thing I'm telling you, I'm not telling you that you're just going to wake up and tell yourself, yes, I can do it, and then magically all the problems are going to go away. You see, I'm actually passing through the same situation right now on this YouTube channel, right? I understand that YouTube is a thing. It's not like, somebody is telling me now that, yeah, YouTube, should I do it, should I not do it? I understand that YouTube is a thing because I've got other monetized channels, all right? And because of that, I did build this channel to be able to, first of all, it would be to be an outlet for me to actually, speak to you guys, teach you guys, and also a little creative project of mine. But then, guys, this channel has not been getting, guys, the right momentum that it should get. Sometimes I make videos, I get 10 views, even though I have put in a lot of work to make sure that the video looks decent. And in my own judgment, video is decent, good information was passed, the items were shown, breaking down things, how things happen. But then for one reason or the other, YouTube just ceases to push this video out to the right audience. Sometimes it kind of bothers you. You are wondering, you are a reseller, you're talking about reselling on your videos, and when you title the videos, you actually do title it that this is an eBay content, but the algorithm in its way of doing things just kind of doesn't find this audience. I don't know how that happens, but I have been deploying my mental toughness to ensure that I keep making these videos, and guys, it has been working. Has it been easy? Definitely not, but I am pushing through, and with each upload I do on this channel, I am actually getting more confident, more prepared to go through whatever obstacle might be on the way to get discovered on this platform. You need mental toughness to succeed. If you want to be a reseller, if you want to be a YouTuber, if you want to be in business, doesn't matter what kind of business, you actually do need mental toughness, to carry on. If you have not thought about that, please let this be something that you can reflect on today. Figure out ways you can actually exercise yourself that will ensure that you become, mentally very tough, because you need this to excel in whatever project you are currently undertaking. I hope this video finds you well. If it did, please do me a favor, click on the like button, consider sharing it, and above all, consider subscribing to the channel. Until I see you again in the next one, peace.